Thank you all for joining us this evening. Today is Wednesday, May 8th, 2024. At this time, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Ms. Garcia, can we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Walter.
Here.
Vice Mayor Mendoza.
Here.
Councilmember Larson.
Here.
Councilmember Neal. He's on his way. Councilmember Buccellato.
Here.
Councilmember Maldonado.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. At this time, let's rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we'll go ahead and open up our first call to the public. Call to the public for public comment on issues within the jurisdiction of the Town Council. Council rules limit public comment to 3 minutes, and individual council members may respond to criticism made by those commenting, may ask staff to review a matter raised, or may ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. However, members of the council shall not discuss or act on any matter during an open call to the public unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion or legal action. I do have Miss Marianne Palaya.
Thank you, Mayor and Vice Mayor and council members. I had to leave before the second call to the public on Monday, and I just wanted to say in regard to the new C-Click Fix policy, I was disappointed and kind of flabbergasted that the vote was taken that night without the public being able to weigh in at first call to the public before the vote, because we didn't have a copy of the new policy. And Mayor, I think that your initial reaction was the right one, that it should have waited. And I don't know protocol. I don't know if that can be revisited or not. And I'm not going to take up a lot of time tonight because I know this meeting is about something else. But I do plan to take my full 3 minutes at the next council meeting and explain why this bothers me. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your feedback. Is it for her to speak? Okay. Michelle Cortez?
I'm just disruptive. Good evening, Mayor and Council and audience. As we sit here today, you're going to make a decision who will fill the 7th seat on your council for the next 2 years. And I am pleased, but somewhat shocked to see the amount of people that have decided to go for this seat. Pleased because typically we don't see a lot of turnout for things when it comes to sitting on the hot seat. Shocked because I'm a little disappointed that at one time 11 people are ready to take this seat, but they weren't willing to allow the citizens to put them in that seat. Instead, they're going to leave it to the 6 of you to decide if they get to be there. And I really think it's something that the citizens should be able to speak on and decide who takes those 7 seats. I want to make sure that the people that are running understand this is not a 2 nights out of the month commitment. This is like a full-time job where you make pennies on the hour. Not that your compensation is why you are here, but it is not just 2 meetings. It is, at times, 5 meetings in a week, depending on what you're assigned, depending on things that are going on, social activities within the community. So if by chance you weren't available 2 weeks ago because your schedule didn't permit, please really think about, does your schedule permit you now? If you were too busy a month ago, are you that free that now you can take on another full-time job? Because this is what council is. It is another full-time job. If you were asked to do this by someone and you really weren't sure, please really think about it before you try to take that seat. I'm not trying to discourage anybody, but I really feel that sometimes people go for council and they don't understand the commitment that it takes. It is a tough job. As I was told, you have to have tough skin and you have to be willing to smile in the face of the people who dislike you. I don't smile at anybody that doesn't like me, and that's just how it's going to always be. But I really want council to think about who you're putting there. Don't put them there because they're your friend, your neighbor. Put them there because they deserve that seat and they're going to bring something to council. And if you're here for the wrong reasons, I would ask for you to please just remove your name from the list so that council can get down to who deserves to take that seat. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to take one moment to respond because with the process, just to be fully transparent, our legal attorney had advised us that due to the way that the seat was vacated and the time frame held, that we did not have the option legally to take it to the citizens for a vote. Otherwise, I believe that all of our council members up here would have preferred it to go to a vote on the ballot. So we're just following the legal policy that is set before us. Are there any other speakers? I do see an online, Ms. Ramirez.
Good evening, council and residents of Florence. Yeah, tonight is going to be a tough night. I myself was glad to see so many applicants for this position. I do kind of wish as a citizen we did get the option to vote for this person too, or at least have feedback from the audience before council chose this position, because these people are supposed to be representing we the people. And I want to stress also, you know, and being a lifelong resident myself, attending meetings for the last 5 years, it's surprising that, you know, a lot of these people that are up on this, up for this seat tonight, I'm a little saddened to see, you know, we haven't heard or really seen from these people at meetings at all in the time that they have been residing in Florence, which, you know, now all of a sudden they want to run for council. It is a little surprising, and I hope the motive is for all the right reasons to represent we the people. I also want them to understand that when they take that oath to uphold the Constitution, that they realize what that entails every time they make a vote, especially when it comes time to the rights of we the people, so that our rights aren't violated anytime you guys make decisions. So that is something that should never ever be put on the back burner, is what that Constitution entails and what our Bill of Rights and all that stuff as American entails. So it is a big responsibility, and best of luck. And we're always praying for the right things to happen in our town. So pay attention to that Constitution and the rights of we the people. That's all I got to say.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that would like to speak this evening at Open Call to the Public? Seeing none in person or online, I'm going to close the call to the public. First call to the public.
There's only one. There's only one.
I'm sorry, what?
There's only one call to the public.
On the back, there is a second one shown up. Oh, no, I apologize. The way that it was printed, there's a glitch. Thank you. The only call to the public this evening. Item number 6 is new business. This is interviews with council candidates. Ms. Garcia?
At this time, we'd ask all of the candidates to rise, go over to the administrative side conference room, and we will call you back in one at a time. Thank you so much. And Patricia, our deputy clerk, will be there waiting for you. One. Mayor, members of council, we have said that you were going to take them in alphabetical order, but we have not said which order you're going to take them in, if you're doing reverse alphabetical order or ABC alphabetical order. You decide, and then we'll call them in one at a time. We've got a interview space for them. We have a new water for each one as they come in case they need it, and you have your questions before you.
All right, I will ask council, is there any request as to which alphabetical order we proceed? Well, in our books, it goes from ABC order. So in order just to streamline that and keep it consistent, let's go ahead and do that. Thank you very much. Our first candidate on the list is Kathy Adam.
Procedurally, are they going to walk them out and then they're going to leave? Or put them in a separate room?
No, they can stay once
They can stay once they answer? Okay. I guess, because I don't want, you wouldn't want them going back.
No, at least that's what the email said, is they can stay in the, but they can't go back in there, I would assume. So that might need to be mentioned.
Yeah.
Good evening, Miss Adam. How are you?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. I'm extremely nervous, but I'm fine. I'm ready.
Genuinely, there is no need for anybody to be nervous. We're very appreciative of your time and effort put forth into applying, as with all candidates. We're going to ask you a total of 6 questions this evening. Each of us will take turns asking one question. And at the end of the interview, if there's anything additional that you'd like to share that wasn't covered, you'll have an opportunity to do so. And at that time, we'll conclude the interview, and either you can stay in the council chambers and watch the rest of the candidates, or you could leave, but you could not return to the room where everybody else is. We're just trying to keep the questions secure. All right. Councilmember Maldonado?
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Kathy, please tell me something about yourself that isn't on your resume and what makes you the best candidate for this position.
Oh, well, I guess if I was to say something that might be relevant to tonight's proceedings, what I did not put in my resume is I also serve on 4 boards of a family business we run. And so I am in business with 6 of my peer cousins and 42 of my extended family. We run a commercial property business, and we are all actively engaged. I'm really proud. Our family motto is to provide supplemental income and maintain family unity. So our priority is family unity. We could turn the business over to outsiders, but then we would all lose touch. And so the reason I bring that up tonight is because I recognize you all have a very difficult job. But these are not your relatives. You go home and you don't need to see us at your Thanksgiving table. Being on the board of a family business is very, very difficult, and it is all about compromise, right? Everybody has baggage at that table because it's somebody's mother, brother, sister, some divorces. So there are things you have to deal with, and it is a multi-million-dollar business, so it's very serious. And I just feel that given some of the things we've been through, I understand compromise.
What makes you the best candidate for this position?
I will not make that decision, you will. I feel my qualifications are these. I have the unique experience of actually being a homeowner in the historic district. I restored my home. I worked very closely with the town. On the flip side, I have been on the Historic District Advisory Commission, dictating, if you will, the guidelines and the types of things you have to adhere to. So I've seen it from both sides. I'm also on planning and zoning, so I understand from the residents' perspective as well as the town's perspective, and you have to go by the general plan, you have to go by code. Safety and security comes first, but I do understand preservation well enough to know how you can marry the two, and not bend the rules, but make it work and follow the intent of the code. Okay? I also think that I have pretty extensive experience between boards and commissions and interacting with many of the town staff. And I wish, if I can speak to the public, engage more, engage with the council, engage with the town staff, and there will be less of you and them discussions, right? Because I found everybody to be very willing to discuss with me, and we don't agree. I think there's several of your directors who would say, we do not agree. But everyone agrees to speak with me and make me understand what's going on. So I think I have a track record of engaging with the town staff on tough issues.
Thank you.
All right, Kathy. What do you think some of the challenges have been for the town of Florence?
I am happy to say that from my perspective, we have nothing but good challenges. We have growth coming our way. We have a very special town. We have a very special council and staff. I watch everything. I watch the other towns bicker, and there are things going on. I watch CAC go through an open meeting law special session because they broke open meeting law. We don't have these issues. We don't have ethics violations, right? So coming in right now, sometimes all you hear are the more negative things, but when I look at the town, it is well run. People want to come here. More people want to come here than maybe some of us want. That's not a bad problem to have. It is our problem to manage the growth. And I've said this at Planning and Zoning. I'm not quite seeing enough planning happening, right? We cannot say yes to everybody. And I don't mean hold up growth. Can we slow it down? Can we get back out in front of the developers? That's my question. Why can't we? Other towns have. So I do think that that's something that I would direct to the council to show that leadership. I know planning and zoning is looking for that guidance. We would accept the guidance from you because at the planning and zoning level, all you're doing is following the rules, right? Does this meet the general plan? Did staff say that we're all in the setbacks and all that type of thing? But it doesn't necessarily take into account the big picture. The other thing I would say is we're siloed. I am in favor of everything that's been presented to us. I have seen great plans done by consultants on Heritage Park, Padilla Park, the Territory Square. We are starting the discussion on the Multi-Gen Center. Every time they're presented, it's like dangling candy in front of our eyes, and what citizen is going to say, no, I don't want that? It's beautiful. What's not being done, it's not being merged into one picture. And I wrote this in on the Multi-Gen Center when there was a discussion about should we do outdoor activities? F Mountain is one of the most unique parks we have for miles around, and that's another one we spent money on a consultant study. I think that is something we should concentrate on for outdoor activities, and why would you build new outdoor facilities at a multi-gen center? So I think just bringing all these pieces together, if I could bring it back to the redevelopment plan downtown, that's a terrific consultant study, and it won awards. It's really well done, but it's not being acted upon. So when we're asked to vote on an RV park storage facility at the 79 at the south end of Main Street, that's the gateway. That's what that plan says. I don't remember a discussion putting it into that context, because maybe it's legal and maybe it can be done, but if that's the gateway to our town from the Oro Valley area and from Coolidge and Casa Grande, is that what we want there? So what I'm saying is, it's too many silos, and then I think we need some direction as a town, and that will dictate the priorities of where we're spending our money, especially on infrastructure.
Ms. Adams, do you feel the multi-generation facilities should be a priority of the town? Please explain the reasoning behind your answer.
Council member, I wish I could say yes. My heart says yes. But since it hasn't been presented to me in totality with our other facilities, which all were presented with major budgets, I guess my question would be, did we give up on F Mountain? Did we give up on Heritage Park? Did we give up on the other park plans? And if so, then yes. If not, then how does the multi-gen center fit? Now, having said, and putting on my business hat, we have to make some decisions, because money, you shouldn't build all those facilities out if they're conflicting. My personal opinion is yes. I have been to the Apache Junction one, and I have seen the activities. And I understand that Anthem has their own facilities, but I'm not really thinking about this as a gym or yoga class only, right? I think the multi-gen center would be the place where you bring everybody together, community-based activities. We have a shortage of meeting rooms, conference rooms. I know I can't get what I need for my museum. This would be a place, a gathering place, right? And I love the idea that we are bringing in younger families, right? Because we have quite a few retirees, of which I'm one. That's not vitality, right? So a place where you naturally meet multiple generations is the best possible answer.
The town council has 3 council seats that are up for election. Why did you decide to apply for an appointed position rather than running for town council in an upcoming election?
That's an easy one for me to answer. So, and I do want to answer. Many of you, or several of you, have asked me about running, and I have always said I've respectfully declined. I understand the commitment it takes. I actually use the words, I'm trying to retire, and I'm not sure that this is for me. One of the reasons I decided late. I mean, the short answer is I decided late because I was not thinking about running for council. So the time to pull a packet had already passed. When I saw the candidates, and I understand we haven't had the debates yet, I know nothing about these people, so I am not denigrating any of the candidates. What I was concerned about is something that a citizen raised earlier on the call to public. I haven't seen any of them engage with government at any level, whether it be at a board level, whether it be, any of our activities, whether it be Parks and Rec, and certainly not at council meetings. I am concerned. Let's just say that Michelle Cordes is able to return as mayor. She's an experienced council member. my concern is there are 4 other seats open, and I'm not comfortable with all you people, with all the years of experience you have and knowledge, to have the majority of the council possibly be brand new. As you know, there are so many things to learn just about what your job is versus what the town manager's job is. I think there's a lot of confusion on who does what, and I think that there's a very short period of time, a year and a half, you don't have a lot of time to ramp up. And I just felt that I at least know everybody by name. I'm not saying I know everything I need to know, but I think I know the basics.
Ms. Adams, if you're appointed to this position, at the end of your term, what will your number one accomplishment be?
Oh. I would like it to be that I've brought clarity on the issues to the public. Again, in my experience being a resident, lobbying you all frequently on issues, I sense there's a lot of misunderstanding. And so we're almost talking a lot of times at cross purposes. I hear the resident, I hear you, and I see there's no connection there. And I just feel like perhaps I can be a translator, if you will. We just went through a situation with the resident, a property owner, and the property owner was, surprise, surprise, having some difficulty with our building department. And I say that because this is almost a regular occurrence when you are renovating in the historic district. Not pointing fingers at the building department. I was fortunate enough to be asked just to sit in on this meeting. And just by sitting there, I could translate for both sides, which were not wrong. Nobody was wrong. They were not connecting and understanding what had to get done, okay? Our code enforcement people speak code. And I will tell you, outside of them, I would venture to say, our attorney is the only one who understands that. Spouting code at a property owner or a resident is not helpful. I have no idea what you mean. I mean, I don't know what I have to do. So you're not wrong, but from the property owner's perspective, and then you get into this, well, it's unreasonable. Well, it's not unreasonable once you understand why it's being asked, especially if it's a safety and security issue. Right? And it can happen, and it doesn't cost $1 million. It's what I hear when I sit in council meetings oftentimes and the public is speaking. I don't think they always understand. I think there's a lot of ignorance on how the government works. I didn't understand planning and zoning's role, and I would say an awful lot that comes up at your meeting should have been and probably was hashed out at planning and zoning. But we don't get the attendance that you do. So I would say that's one of the things I could bring to council, is to help educate the public on when and where in the process they need to be showing up to be most effective. Nobody wants to spin their wheels and present something to you that, surprise, surprise, nobody wanted. Well, if you didn't show up earlier in the cycle, we don't know that, right? So, I mean, those are just the things, again, sitting out here and just listening to everything that's said, and it's so frustrating because at the end of the day, everyone gets frustrated and it probably doesn't come to the conclusion we would all like, simply over communicating.
Thank you.
Ms. Adams, can you please provide an example of a time when you successfully navigated a complex issue or a conflict in a collaborative setting?
Well, again, at this point, I would go back to my family, since I haven't been in a situation with the council. It's not my role here, or on P&Z for that matter. But one of my cousins was being nominated to manage our business, and another cousin volunteered. And we had to make a decision like you have to make a decision. Only it's family. So, yeah, it's great to go through the resume, the checklist. Do you have this skill? Have you gone to school? Do you have a degree? Whatever. But then there's that whole other side. And again, our family motto is to make family unity. So the decision you make has to not only hold with those two people, it has to hold with the rest of the equity partners that sit on our boards, that are part of our company. So it's the vetting, it's the having the conversations with the key people offline, it's talking to everybody, and it's trying to get everybody to the point of yes. I'm still wrestling with that. This is a decision that was made years ago, and that's one of those decisions that doesn't end, right? It keeps going forward, and there is no end date till the next person comes up and replaces them. So I get these long-term, I've always been a long-range strategic thinker. I'm not doing this for now. P&Z is all about when I'm long gone, right? All these decisions are going to really affect down the road. It's not right now. So I am just a strategic thinker, and I'm trying to get the picture and try to figure out all the pieces that have to come together so this is a wonderful place 5, 10, 15 years from now.
All right. Well, thank you very much for participating. Is there anything that you would like to add before we conclude this portion?
Yes, I wish everybody well. I have had the occasion to speak to one or two of the candidates, and I am thrilled. I am thrilled. And my deal was, should you not get in this round, I will help you do everything you can to pull a package for the next round of 4 years, because it's a very exciting thing to know there are people in the wings who really want to come to this council. And again, it speaks well of you all that all these people want to join you. That's a good thing.
Well, thank you very much. You can have a seat if you would like to at this time. Thank you.
Yeah, there's no number 5 on number 4. Number 5, number 4. Yeah, we already. Yeah.
Good, got it.
Good evening, Mr. Bracco. How are you this evening?
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so for this interview portion, we'll each have an opportunity to ask you one question. And at the end of the interview, you will have an opportunity to share anything that you would like us to know, possibly that was not covered in the interview questions. And then that would conclude the interview. And at that time, you would have the option of either sitting in the audience to watch the rest of the interview panel, or you would be able to leave, but just not return back to that room to keep the questions secure. All right, thank you so much. Councilmember Maldonado.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Bracco, please tell me something about yourself that isn't on your resume and what makes you the best candidate for this position?
I think for me, it's really kind of my diverse background. You know, starting off living in Illinois, I went up through Boy Scouts of America, earned my Eagle Scout rank. So I got really involved with just working with the public, getting involved in the community, and really trying to make an impact, not just on my life, but hopefully make an impact on someone's life every single day. After kind of growing out of the scouting program, stayed on as an adult leader to hopefully mentor and guide future generations as well. And then kind of through that, after I graduated high school, I joined the city of Wooddale in a part-time job in Illinois. Got to get to know a lot of the city council members, had to attend all the city council meetings, the committee meetings and everything like that. So I really got to see the ins and outs of how the city government worked and kind of seeing the city council's passion for wanting to get the community involved, making an impact in the community. And it's not just about yourself, it's about what the council person can do to make an impact in the city for the long run, not just the here and now.
And that was a two-part question. So what makes you the best candidate for this position?
I think it comes down to, I really just want to make an impact in the city. I've been in the town of Florence for 3 years now. It'll be 3 years in June. And I've been involved in the Community Services Advisory Board now and really just want to make a larger impact in the community and seeing kind of the Florence grow. When I first moved here, you see the development in Queen Creek, then you see it moving down Hunt Highway to Santan Valley, and so we're that next stop. And so making that impact in the community and hopefully having an influence and an impact to make us shine, to make us that bigger star on the map and making that place that people want to go and, being involved in those decision makings and, really, being that face, one of the faces of the town of Florence and for the community.
Thank you.
Okay, so what do you think some of the challenges have been for the town of Florence?
I think for that, it's really, we have all these new developments going in, and even, sitting in on the meeting on Monday, making sure that we're looking at, the full scope of the impact of things that the council does, and making sure that we're crossing all of our T's and dotting all of the I's to making sure that as we grow, we're looking at everything, not just roads, utilities and things like that, but even basic things like, sporting teams, community development, community services, making sure that the city as a whole is growing, and we're also bringing in the businesses to make sure that as our residents move in, we're keeping those sales tax and those tax dollars within our community where they don't have to go out to Coolidge, Santan Valley, Queen Creek. So making sure that we're that one-stop destination for our residents and for the visitors that come to the town of Florence.
Thank you.
Joseph, do you feel the multi-generation facility should be a priority of the town? Please explain your reasoning behind your answer.
I do believe that it should be a priority for the town. Any kind of community public space that that we can use as a organization, as a community member, just brings us together. You hear at council meetings that, hey, we don't have people joining up for boards and things like that, but if we can have a centralized gathering place, to have different activities, different things for all ages, and getting everyone involved, I think is great. I've sat a couple times in the library, just in the vestibule, just working when I was working at home one day, and just seeing everyone kind of come in and having that gathering place. You see the dads and the children and the families and things like that. But if we can get everyone together, the seniors, the children and everyone between, I think it'd be great for us. We have all that time the last couple of months to give the town to give input on it, and I think it'll be a great investment for our community to have that centralized gathering place.
The town council has 3 council seats that are up for election. Why did you decide to apply for an appointed position rather than running for town council in the upcoming election?
Yeah, like I said in my application, after I joined the Community Services Advisory Board, I kind of got that spark. I told myself, and I told my fiance, within 5 years I want to run for city council. Kind of get my feet wet in getting involved in the town of Florence, and then kind of, going from there. So for me, I think it was, I didn't think at the time, I didn't think I wanted to run through the election process. But then, this kind of sparked up, and I said, hey, this may be my time right now just to, if anything, just show my interest, of being involved in the city, being in the town council. And so it just came down to, let's do it. For some reason, if I don't get appointed because of, someone else is more qualified, at least it shows the town council and it shows the town that I'm interested, and down the line, that time will come at some point.
Mr. Bracco, if you are appointed to this position, at the end of your term, what will your number one accomplishment be?
For me, I think it's, I guess my tie back to the Community Services Board, I think, is making sure that as we grow, we had the public hearing on Monday for the new plan development, and so making sure that the services that we offer our residents, if it's public safety, if it's, sports teams, if it's, aquatic centers, making sure that we're looking at everything to making sure that we have the amenities that we need, but also looking at that community, community retail, things like that, to making sure that we are that one-stop shop, and making sure that our voices are heard, and making sure that it's not just my voice, it's the town's voice. Being open. I work in HR, so I talk to people every single day at my job. So listening to the residents. I don't care if it's, it's 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm trying to, shop at Safeway, or, pump my gas, just listen to community members, being that open ear, and making sure that if I make a vote, if I'm appointed, it's what the community is telling me, asking me for, but also what's morally right for the city as well, or the town.
Thank you.
Can you provide an example of a time when you successfully navigated a complex issue or a conflict in a collaborative setting?
I would say that I would have to go back to the time when I worked at the city of Wooddale. I'm just kind of tying it back to local government. At the time, our summer festival was a one-day event. We had a couple bands. We had a car show and things like that, and it really, we got a great attendance, but it was not what we visioned it for. So we reactivated the special events committee for the city of Wooddale, and so that was part of that, of getting members to join the board, getting some aldermen involved as well, and really kind of do that kind of the voice of the people of, what do you want, what do you expect, and then what's realistically. That next year, we ended up having the first time ever in the city's history having a carnival. We ended up being a 3-day event with multiple tiers of, bands, organizations, club groups, and things like that, and really made it a town festival rather than just a one-day kind of event where, you pick up the next day, you never even knew it was there. We also pushed our 4th of July fireworks, actually to our tree lighting ceremony for us. In Wooddale, we're a smaller town, so all the larger communities around us had, large firework displays and things like that. So we never got the attendance drawn for that. So we're like, well, first of all, if we do fireworks in December, it's a whole lot cheaper than it is trying to get them 4th of July weekend. And then it also attracted people to that event as well. So we had neighboring communities come to us during that time instead of our residents leaving to see larger firework displays. And so it was really, listening to the community, getting their input, and then acting on it, but also getting community members involved in our board.
Thank you very much. Is there anything that we have not asked that you wanted to share with us at this time?
Yeah, I think the only other thing that I really have is, I'm involved in SHRM, which is the Society for Human Resource Management, my professional side, and I'm part of their A team, and so, I do a lot of, looking at legislation, both from a workplace standard, community standards, things like that. And so I have the opportunity once a year to get flown out to Washington, D.C. to talk to our representatives, our senators and things like that, to talk about what's affecting me, what's affecting my workplace, and what's going to affect our community that I'm involved in. That also sparked my interest in this role as well, of having a one-day event of being able to do that, but now be able to hopefully make a difference in my community. And like Councilmember Neal said on Monday, I don't want to be that politician as well. I really just want to serve the community and better the community, and not just do it selfishly, but do it for the community, not just for myself.
Well, thank you very much for that. At this time, that would conclude this portion of the interview. So you can have a seat in the audience or whatever you choose.
Thank you very much for your time, everyone.
Thank you as well.
Lisa, I don't know if, Lisa, I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but I'm freezing, like freezing, nose cold, hands cold, freezing. Anybody else?
No, it's perfect. Good evening, Ms. Lopez. How are you?
Excuse me, Mayor Walter. I can't even speak. I'm bumbling my words. Excuse me. I'm doing well. I hope you all are as well.
Well, thank you for taking the time to apply and to come interview this evening. We're going to ask you a total of 6 questions, 1 each, and then at the end you'll have an opportunity to share any additional information or something that...
Thank you.
I was going to share that with her in a
Thank
second.
you. Sorry.
That's okay. You can share any additional information or anything that was not covered in your interview that you want us to know.
Thank you.
And then once the interview concludes, you can either stay here and listen to the rest of the applicant's interview, or you're free to go out, but just not into the room where you came from.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Maldonado?
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Lopez, please tell me something about yourself that isn't on your resume. And the second part of that is, what makes you the best candidate for this position?
Thank you, Councilmember Maldonado. I, first and foremost, am a mother. I have 5 amazing children, so I prioritize my time between work and my children. And I do apologize. May I have the second part of that question again, please?
The second part is, what makes you the best candidate for this position?
I feel that my background and my experience and the fact that I have been a civil servant for the last 10 years has allowed me to really familiarize myself with the way government works, as well as being a parent and a mother and balancing everything. I feel like I am the best candidate to do all of that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Issues over here. Okay, what do you think some of the challenges have been for the town of Florence?
Thank you, Councilmember Buccellato. I know that one of the highest priority challenges currently is the water infrastructure. We see that constantly. And I do understand that there's progress to be made. There's a CIP plan, but we also do need to figure out a way to hopefully not have outages in the future, and work together with our partners and such to ensure that. Thank you.
Do you feel the multi-generation facility should be a priority for the town? Please explain your reasoning behind your answer.
Thank you, Councilmember Neal. I actually do feel like it should be a priority. Having a young family, and knowing that we plan to stay here for quite some time, I do feel that it is important, it's imperative, and it will bring the community together as well to afford some options to folks who might not have access to those options. So, yes, sir. Thank you. Sorry, it slipped out.
The town council has 3 council seats that are up for election. Why did you decide to apply for an appointed position rather than running for a town council in the upcoming election?
Thank you, Councilmember Larson. I do anticipate running for a 4-year term. Unfortunately, for this particular round, I wasn't able to fully commit to that, and I understand that it is a full-time commitment, and I felt guilty, and I didn't want to make that decision to put the constituents before my children or vice versa. So I chose to apply for the appointed position just to see if it would be a possibility, with the hopes of running for a 4-year term in the future. Thank you.
Ms. Lopez, if you are appointed to this position at the end of your term, what will your #1 accomplishment be?
Thank you, Vice Mayor Mendoza. I am hoping that my biggest accomplishment would be building the relationships with our municipal partners and our regional partners in order to fully execute the vision of not only the town, but all of the surroundings as well. So that is my goal, sir.
Can you provide an example of a time that you successfully navigated a complex issue or a conflict in a collaborative setting?
Thank you, Mayor Walter. Yes, ma'am. In my current role for the county, we are a high-volume department, and I am so happy to work with so many different individuals. And we do receive criticism from folks, of course. And I pride myself in being able to listen to the individual, understand where they're coming from, and help them achieve what it is that they're trying to accomplish. And I apologize, I know you asked for a specific time, but I feel just on a daily basis, I'm working to help individuals.
Well, and I appreciate how you outlined the process.
Thank you.
So that concludes the 6 questions that we had this evening. Is there anything in addition that you would like to share with us?
I just want to thank you all for the opportunity, and the residents and fellow constituents. I know I am not somebody who is a regular at the council meetings, and I am hoping to be better at that. So I just want to thank you all for your time and this opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome to stay. I usually...
Thank you. I'm sorry, I was just going to take a quick break.
Oh, okay.
That's okay.
No, that's absolutely perfect.
Thank you.
I was trying something different. Usually after every candidate, I say you can stay or you can leave, but everybody has been staying, so I just figured that was a given, so I'll make it consistent. Now it's hot. Yes, it is.
Hi,
Good evening, Ms. McDonald. How are you this evening?
I'm great, thank you.
Well, thank you for taking the opportunity to apply for the seat on council as well as come to the interview this evening. We're going to be asking you one question each for a total of 6 questions. And then at the conclusion of the interview, you'll have an opportunity to share any information that you would like us to know that possibly was not covered during the interview. And then after that, that would conclude the interview, and you can either have a seat in the audience or you could go out, just not back into the room that you came from.
Great.
Excellent. Councilmember Maldonado.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. McDonald, please tell me something about yourself that isn't on your resume. And the second part of that question is, what makes you the best candidate for the position?
Well, I don't know the other candidates, so I would not presume that I'm the best candidate. I have a lot of experience. I have a lot of time. I am fully retired, and I spent 12 years in the Washington State House of Representatives and 8 years on the Pierce County Council. And so I believe that as a candidate, I could hit the ground running. And I understand that some of you won't be here after this year, and I think that it would be helpful to have someone that appreciates government on the local level and understands how important it is to ensure that we all can have a good future for our children, for our grandchildren, and that we can get along together, truly represent the people, and respect each other. Something that's not on my resume, my husband was in law enforcement for 25 years, a Tacoma police officer, and I twice won Legislator of the Year from the State Council of Police and Sheriffs. So I have a great appreciation for law enforcement, which is one of the reasons why we settled here in Florence, and my children, my grandchildren also live here. And it's a very safe town. I feel good about it, and I think the council in the past obviously did a very, very solid job.
Thank you.
What do you think some of the challenges have been for the town of Florence?
Well, obviously, growth is very important. I think as you move along, every community has to look at growing. If it doesn't grow, it will stagnate. And Florence is a great town, and obviously you have a lot of people that want to keep it just the way it's been for all the years in the past. But the reality is you have to grow, and you have to represent all of the people in Florence while you're doing that. So I think one of the challenges is, as you move forward, ensuring that the people here know that you're taking their concerns very seriously, that you're being intentional about your growth, and you're also requiring a lot of the developers, because they come here, they make a lot of money, but they also provided places to live for people like me who are very, very happy to be here and to live here. I think it's a wonderful place. So the challenge for the council is to truly convince the people that you represent them and their best interests, and that we're not out for our own agenda. Thank you, Nicole.
Do you feel the multi-generation facility should be a priority of the town? Please explain your reasoning behind your answer.
Well, I noticed one of your speakers earlier at public comment had said that they hadn't seen most of the candidates here at the meetings, but that doesn't mean that we have not been paying attention or that we don't watch online as to what's being done here in the city or what's being proposed. Just recently, I watched your consultant make their presentation as to why or why not the multi-generational center would be a good idea. And from my perspective, I think the consultant made it clear that financially and just population-wise, that we were not in a position to move forward with that. I think it's something you can put in the back burner. I think it's something as the town grows and your budgets grow, that may change, but I definitely don't feel it's for now. And another thing too is, as part of your development agreements with the new developments that are coming on board that you're changing your zoning for, I think it's important that they provide facilities and recreational opportunities for the families that they're also providing housing for.
The town council has 3 council seats that are up for election. Why did you decide to apply for appointed position rather than running for the town council in the upcoming election?
I appreciate you asking me that, Kristen, because I've spent a lot of years running for office, 20 years to be precise. It's very difficult, but I felt that this opportunity to be appointed for the next 2.5 years could bring stability to the council. I also felt it was important that the person you appoint was not planning on running again, because I think it's important that the people of Florence choose their next council member and not give the person that you appoint an advantage in the next election, because incumbency does have a very, I think, a great advantage. I was an incumbent for lots of years, and I'm sure it's what allowed me to continue to be reelected, and that's not something I want to do. Plus, not as young as I used to be. So I think I could come in and make a difference and really encourage all of you, but at the same time, not be looking out for my own reelection.
If you were appointed to this position, at the end of your term, what would your number 1 accomplishment be?
I'm such a foundational person. My number 1 accomplishment will be knowing that I truly did my best to represent the people in this town. And as I say, knowing that I left it better afterwards than when I first came. And sometimes that accomplishment just means relationships, appreciating your staff. I understand the value of staff and the job that they do most of the hard work. Not that you don't do a lot of hard work. I understand that, and your time is very important. And but I just want to leave it better than when I found it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please provide a time when you successfully navigated a complex issue or a conflict in a collaborative setting?
I've had, every position I served in was partisan, and so that can give you an idea of how difficult, even although nonpartisan positions are very difficult too, because you're dealing with personalities, but partisan positions are probably unique in themselves, because sometimes issues even if it's a great idea and a great issue, if that person is not of your party, they're not going to support you unless you truly can convince them that this issue is more important than you or me getting the credit. And so it's been a long time ago, probably 2007, but I introduced and managed to have the first bill in the nation passed that outlawed text messaging while driving. And as you could probably well understand, especially, that many years ago, 15 plus, people were not very happy to have their rights taken away, and I understand that. But at the same time, I got enough people on board from both sides of the aisle who cared more about the lives of the people who were threatened on the roads, especially young people, because at that time it was teenagers who were texting and driving, 16, 17-year-olds. I got the Association of Traffic Engineers. I got all of the AAA, all of these kinds of people involved, so that by the time we actually passed it, we had everything we needed to convince people that this was a very wise step. And also at the same time, we were able to say that technology would catch up to eventually we would not have to text and drive, that we could just speak in our car, which they thought was not normal, but I knew that that would be coming, the day when we just say call so-and-so or text so-and-so. And so it was a very new and difficult situation, but as I say, it was the first bill in the nation to be passed, and after that, many other states fell into line and did the same.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So that concludes the 6 questions that we had prepared this evening. Is there anything in addition that you would like to share with us that was not covered in the interview?
No, I just want to say thank you for what you do. I know sometimes it's thankless, and I know you're doing it for all the right reasons. And those of you who have been here for a while, even those of you who haven't, I'm so happy you were here because I love Florence. We've enjoyed it. My family's enjoyed it. And we don't plan on going anywhere else, probably die here. So I'm sorry about that too, but I know you have a nice cemetery. So thank you. I appreciate you letting me come here tonight, and felt a little bit, even as much experience as I've had in the political realm, I felt a little bit out of my element sitting here being interviewed. So thanks again.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome to sit in the audience at this time, or if you do leave, you just cannot return to the room that you came from.
Thank you.
So Councilmember Buccellato just asked a clarifying question. If she was planning on running again, she just wanted to make sure that she heard her correctly. And yes, she did state that she was not planning on running again. It would just be the 2.5-year term. Good evening, Mr. Rankin. How are you tonight?
Pretty good now that I see all your hands. I don't have to worry about a gun.
Never. So this evening, we're each going to ask you one question, and then at the end of the 6 questions, if there's anything that we have not asked you or anything you want to share with us, you'll have the opportunity to do so.
Sure.
And then at that point, that would conclude the interview, and then you can either stay in the room and listen to the rest of the candidates, or if you do leave, you just can't go back into the room where you came from.
Okay.
All right. Councilmember Maldonado.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Rankin, tell me something about yourself that isn't on your resume. And the second part of that question is, what makes you the best candidate for this position?
God, it's been so long since I looked at that resume, I don't know. I guess it, I can't remember what was on the resume, Mo. I'm not much on that. I guess one of the things would be that now I'm a great-grandfather, twice. I wished out about my kids' TVs, so I didn't watch TVs more often. Why am I the best candidate for the job? I've got the most experience of anybody that I know of that's applied with working with the town. I was chief of police for, as you know, for almost 14 years. I was a mayor twice. I was on the council before I was mayor. I've been a lifelong resident of Florence, and I think I have a pretty good understanding of the growth that we're experiencing, the traffic problems we have, the continuing of trying to maintain Main Street and expand on it in the historical area, working with government. We work with the state and the feds and the county. I think that there's some communications that need to be done with all of them to keep, that we have to know what they're doing in order to know what we're doing. And they have to know what we're doing so that they can work with us too. So the communication between the government entities is very important. Working with MAG, working with CAG, it's very important that we know what's going on so that we have an idea of what we can do with what is going on in different parts of the county and different parts of the state. Yes, I think I'm the best qualified for the position, and I would like to serve it again for 2.5 years. That would be fine. And I want to see our community grow together. Right now we have the downtown Florence, which is Florence, and we have the community of Anthem, which is Florence. But we have to bring it together where the people are working together, trying to get people involved in what's going on downtown. And I think one of the main ways is through the kids and recreation programs that we put on through the town, through the schools. Those are the big things that are going to bring it together, because I have to use ourselves as an example. With my grandkids, not my kids, my grandkids playing sports, we made a lot of friends out in the Anthem area. And they come to town, we talk, and we have a good time. And they attend functions here in Florence. Not only sports, but they come down to the Friday nights on Main, different functions we have here, the rodeo. So it's just, we've got to work continuously on bridging the river to make Florence whole, and where people understand that we're one town.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin.
What do you think some of the challenges have been for the town of Florence?
Some of the challenges
Yeah, what do you think some of the challenges have been for Florence?
to live in Florence,
For Florence.
Florence. I think we're taking a look at job opportunity, which is a big nut to crack, because you're not going to be able to get manufacturing anything to come in until you have transportation. Transportation's a big portion. I know that we put a lot of faith in the north-south corridor coming through, but I think I'll probably be dead before that comes through. Most of us will be. We have to watch what Pinal County is doing on transportation to us because they've connected the 24. They're going to connect the 24 up with a bypass that'll come out on Arizona Farms Road about the dairy. And that'll be bringing traffic out of the East Valley down there. Where they're going to go from there, I don't know. We have transportation issues, but getting manufacturing or businesses in town that will be sustainable is going to be hard until you have the transportation for the product, the raw material to come in, and the product to go out. They're looking for that transportation route. We don't have that at this time. We've got to work with the Main Street, the historical district of Maine, in like the building where the La Paloma Bar or Matt Ritter's building there on Main Street that burnt down. You know, I understand we have a lien on that, and we have to continue looking at that as when the town, if the town can get that, and we have to work with the private sector in order to get something built in there to fill up Main Street more. We have to work, I think, as a council and with this town staff, we have to be a little bit more business friendly and working with them in getting what you as a council think is the direction that Florence needs to go into. We've got to be able to work with the people. We can't sit up on the council and dictate to people. We've got to work with them. We've got to open lines of communications. And that's what I think on that.
Do you feel the multi-generation facility should be a priority of the town? Please explain your reasoning behind your answer.
Snake, Mr. Councilman, I couldn't understand you.
So do you feel that the multi-generation facility...
I'm sorry, that was my fault.
Did you do that?
God bless you.
Well, I couldn't understand one either.
All right. I said, do you feel that the multi-generation center should be a town priority? And explain your reasoning behind your answer.
I think it could be. I don't know. I haven't seen any numbers or anything, so I really couldn't tell you. I think that a multi-generational center is for the whole community, not just one section. I know that you'll run into the same problem as I did when we put in the swimming pool and the library with the residents of Anthem that have their own recreation facilities and own public facilities out there. It's hard to make them, or it's hard for them to bite off saying that, okay, we're going to have to pay more taxes for something down in Florence. Well, again, we say something down in Florence. Well, they are Florence. And we put in a lot into that. Is it from what I saw in the paper, do we need that size? At this time, I couldn't tell you for sure because I haven't seen the numbers. As far as participating in what we've got going on right now. But the citizens of Florence deserve something. When we built the swimming pool in the library, that was one of the hardest things that we had to worry about. Now, we did that without having to go to bond or borrowing the money on it. So there's a little bit of a difference there. But I don't think that at this time, the way the economy is right now, the way inflation is, I don't think we have much of a chance of passing a bond in order to build that. So I think the alternative ways, or finding an alternative money is the way to do on that. But yes, it is needed. I've been to the one in Maricopa. I don't know if any of you have or not. Big, beautiful building. How did they get it? Population. And the Auction Indian community was a big portion of it too. But they have the population that has a tax base in order to get that. We don't have the population at this time, and we don't have the tax base that will build something that big at this time. But it can be designed and developed as a beginning with expansion available after we get going and get some more money up saved where we don't have to. I know that, that's just my opinion. But I think, yes, it is needed for the whole community, and I think it's going to be, in the future, it'll be nice. Just like the library is and the swimming pool is now. Because we have people from the Anthem community that do come into our library and do go to the swimming pool, and they play in the recreation fields, and they'll buy into it. It just takes time.
The town council has 3 council seats that are up for election. Why did you decide to apply for an appointed position rather than running for town council in the upcoming election?
I guess that I'm tired of running. I think I've still got enough couple years left in me that I still have the energy to go. Whether I have enough energy to run a campaign the way I think it should be run, I don't know if I have that or not. I do know I have enough energy to be a good councilman that works with you as a team player, give you the information that I gather and listen to what you have to say so a final decision can be made. Do I want to run again? I couldn't tell you at this time.
If you're appointed to this position, at the end of your term, what will your number one accomplishment be?
I would believe it would be assisting the council and the town staff in setting the direction that future councils will take. Opening up lines of communications, which I said is very important. But I think that if we could get by in 2.5 years with continuing to work on Main Street, talking to staff to get them to understand that they work for the town, not for the council, they work for the citizens of Florence. I've seen some things here recently that I don't like. An example is Main Street at this time. And we talk about communicating. And when you get these these contracts that you put out, you have some say into when they're done, as far as time element, when to begin, when to stop. It doesn't look like that there was much communication with the school on the sewer project that we have going on South Main. We got high school graduation, which is a big deal. There's going to be about, I think, 600-700 kids graduating this year. You bring that many cars into town on the way Main Street is right now, we've got problems. So we have to work getting our department heads to understand that there's a need to communicating with the citizens through you all. And you have to become involved in those decisions with the department heads, because you're the ones setting directions to the department heads. And if they do something that, like some of the water problems we've had here in town, Some of them you can't help. With the infrastructure that's in Florence today, it's improving a whole bunch compared to what it was in 1980. But we have still got to be working on that and replacing these lines and everything. But it can be done, and it may end up having where the public works is working nights rather than days. So it's less of an inconvenience to the people. I think that that's something that we can do, but I would also like to see Main Street, the South Main needs to be developed. There's vacant land there that can be worked with if the people want to come in. But the businesses don't want to come in if the population is not here. And how do we do that? We go out and we tell them what we have to offer. And that's incentives that legally we can do if they're available. But we don't promise them the world and give it away. We can give too much away where if you invest in it, you're losing money. And you don't need that.
Can you provide an example of a time when you successfully navigated a complex issue or a conflict in a collaborative setting?
I think that the first time that I was involved in that was when we purchased the Arizona Sierra Water Company. And I was the interim manager at that time. And we had the people at Florence Gardens wanted to buy the company. We worked it out where they would buy it, we'd carry it through financing and everything on this. And we still got a lot of land out there that's under the control of the town. But it was a situation where you were dealing with the developer, the citizens, and the town, and we were able to pull that off. But I think it was a good deal for the citizens of Florence Gardens and for the citizens of Florence. It provided a relief on some water and sewer issues at that time. As the library and the swimming pool, that was a big issue. But again, like I said, we had some money available at that time to do that. So we didn't have the problem of having to go to a bond or anything like that. I think that some of the best things I've seen that came out of everything is the cooperation that the school had from the citizens. We haven't failed on a bond for the school because the citizens of Florence have always carried it and supported it. Now, what it would be today, I couldn't tell you because I don't have the feeling of the community of Anthem to see what they feel. I know that the Florence Gardens people were able to swing one or two bonds and that were for the school, not for the town, but for the school. So I think, again, communications, getting the word out, and with the proper facts makes things a lot easier. The mine issue was a big issue we had here. I was against the mine because I wasn't sure of the contamination of the water. And that a majority of the people at that time were against the mine. They would come to the meetings and voice their opinion. So we supported, and then it ended up where the mine prevailed over Florence, and so they are out there today, and they're a good business partner. My concern was over the water. It was not over the mining itself, but over the water and what it was going to do to it. We're going to have to wait and see on that. But they are a good business partner for the community. And so I think that those are some pretty We had controversies over, I guess when I got fired, it was probably one of the biggest ones, when they fired me as chief of police. And I eventually turned around and I sued the town, and I won. Because the council took the word of the manager. The manager lied. We were able to prove it. So I think that was one of the biggest issues. And after that, I came and I ran for council, then I ran for mayor. I think that was pretty big in my life. It was a big issue. But you can't take the word without doing your research. It's like doing an investigation. I can talk to you about, did you witness this? And you said, yeah. And then I talk to you, and you tell me a story, and I come back and talk to you 2 weeks later, and you tell me another story. Well, you got to get your facts straight before you make your points. So what I'm saying is, I guess that, yeah, I have been through some controversies. I've weathered them. I've come back strong. Maybe I'm a little too front, but I tell people the way it is, in my opinion. That's just the way I am.
Thank you. So those were the 6 questions that we had, and at this time, if there's anything in addition that you'd like to share with us that was not covered in the interview questions, then you have that opportunity.
I just hope that the decision made by the council tonight is for the best of the community. I hope you take the person that's most experienced and has most knowledge of the job as council person and put it in effect. And on that case, I believe it would be me. So I guess that's all I have to say then, okay? And thank you for allowing me the opportunity.
Well, thank you very much. So at this time, you could stay in and watch the rest of the interviews. If you do leave, you just cannot go back into the room where you came from.
Just FYI, yeah, it looks like you found it. The piece of paper was on the wrong side of the tab. Okay. Yeah, that's what I was fixing.
My goodness. If I may, I have paperwork for.
Yes, absolutely.
right, good evening. How are you this evening?
I am well, thank you very much, Mayor.
So we have 6 interview questions for you this evening. Each of us are going to take turns asking a question.
Okay.
And then at the conclusion, you'll have an opportunity to share any information or anything that was not covered in the interview questions.
Understood. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilmember Maldonado?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ms. President, tell me something about yourself that isn't in your resume. And the second part of that question is, what makes you the best candidate for this position?
Ooh, something that's not in my resume. Okay, let's see. That's a good question because my resume is pretty encompassing. Do you want something personal or something professional?
Either one is fine.
Okay, here is a funny little story that I'm going to share with the mayor and council tonight. I grew up in an inner city of Philadelphia. When I took my standardized test years ago, back in the day, we were asked to fill in what we wanted to be when we grew up. And I would always put farmer. And my teacher would call me and say, "You realize you live in the inner city, right?" I said, "Yes, but a girl can dream." So that's something that's not on my resume. So living in Florence, I'm kind of living my dream. Okay, and your second part of your question, why do you think I am, or why do I think I am a good candidate for this position?
Correct.
Okay, something that Councilman Neal said the other day about being a resident, and he wants more residents of Florence to, step up and take this responsibility. I may not live in the town of Florence. I do live in Florence, but I have worked for the school district for 10 years. Most of that time, I get to work before the sun rises and go home after the sun sets. So the majority of my day is spent in the town of Florence. I shop local, I dine local. This is my home because this is where I spend the majority of my time. Since I have been working here, I've immersed myself in the community, and I immerse myself in the community, and I have joined several civic organizations. Currently, I serve as the president of the Florence Rotary. Tomorrow night, I will have the great honor of handing out 4 $1,000 scholarships to Florence High School students. Go Gophers. So that is something that I'm very proud of. I know Michelle Cordes had mentioned in the beginning of the meeting about this takes time. Serving on council takes time. I have dedicated my time to the service of the community. In addition to being the Florence Rotary president, I am the drug awareness chair for the Coolidge Florence Elks Lodge. I am on the Greater Florence Chamber of Commerce Board. I am on the steering committee for the Florence Women in Business Initiative, which has taken off wonderfully this year. I am a part of the Florence Ecumenical Council. And one of the big accomplishments that I am proud of with that is that through the school district and through my service, with the Ecumenical Council, we were able to collect over 10,000 food items, and we were able to provide 380 meals to Florence residents. And that makes me, again, very proud and very happy to do so. Currently, I'm working with the Florence Lions Club to make sure that students who need glasses are able to get those glasses if they're unable to get them for financial reasons. All of these incredible organizations I work collaboratively with on both sides of the Gila. And my goal is, if I were appointed to town council, is to continue working collaboratively with these organizations so that I can help benefit the people of Florence.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
What do you think some of the challenges have been for the town of Florence?
Good question. And I think this answer is going to be an answer that most of us, the candidates tonight, are going to answer similarly. Challenges faced by the town of Florence would be to hire a highly qualified town manager and possibly the establishment of an economic development team, as well as infrastructure, addressing the utility issues. I know there's been intermittent electrical outages south of the town of Florence in the Cactus Forest area, as well as numerous water outages as well. And this affects everyone, from the residents in the town of Florence, as well as the businesses in the town of Florence, and the educational system. I mean, we have to send children home when they do not have access to the water. So this has been a challenge as well. We are experiencing hyper-growth right now, which could be beneficial as well as detrimental. So we really have to consider both sides of that hyper-growth right now. But those are the challenges that I think we face currently.
Do you feel that the multi-generation facility should be a priority of the town? And explain your reasoning behind your answer.
The multi-generation facility, I believe, will help the town of Florence expand its reach to other communities, our neighboring communities. And what was the second part of your question? I apologize, I couldn't hear that.
No problem. I said, please explain your reasoning behind your answer.
The multi-generation facility can provide adult education. Me being in the educational field, I'm an educational advocate. I have a master's in educational leadership, so I think the multi-generation facility will help us provide that adult education or continuing education, programs, upskilling our residents, reskilling them, and the members of the community, so including parents and other adults who may be seeking employment as businesses come into the town of Florence and as we grow. It can also help with technical and vocational education, partnering with local businesses. It could help with career and readiness programs. I know one of the other initiatives that I am working in right now is a partnership with the United Way of Pinal County to provide books for our youngest members of, or youngest residents of Florence, because without a good and solid foundation in reading, they come into school and there is a lot that we need to do to get them ready as students. So the multi-generational facility will help us accomplish those goals.
The town council has 3 council seats that are up for election. Why did you decide to apply for an appointed position rather than running for town council in an upcoming election?
That is a great question, and something that I think Michelle Cordes, again, alluded to earlier. At the time, I wasn't sure if I wanted to run, simply because, how can I put this? It does encompass a lot of time, but you have to be dedicated and you have to have that passion and you have to have that profound sense of duty and commitment to serving the town and its constituents. Like I said, I did work in the town of Florence for 10 years and I have developed that deep understanding and appreciation for the unique needs of our fellow citizens. I've witnessed the growth that has been taking place. And my decision to pursue a seat on town council stems from that genuine desire to contribute meaningful and continued growth within the town. I also believe that effective governance requires not only dedication, but a passion and a willingness to listen to diverse groups and perspectives of our residents, and a collaborative effort towards a common goal. With a background in education, I thought this is something that I can do to make a difference. I bring to the table a unique blend of skills and insights that can add to the collaborative effort of the town. There is no real reason why I didn't want to run at that time, but when I kept seeing the post, it kind of prompted me to say, yeah, I think this is my time. John Anderson, years ago, respected town council member, John Anderson approached me and said, why don't you run for town council? And I said to him, this is not the time. It didn't feel right. I couldn't feel like I could commit myself to the role if I was elected. I believe that there is a right time and a place for everything, and I felt that this was the right time to do so.
If you're appointed to this position, at the end of your term, what will your number one accomplishment be?
Oh, I would like to start to answer that question by saying, as an individual, I can have my views and my perspectives, but the town council runs as a collaborative team. I think if you come into that position thinking that you're going to take the world over, by storm, I'm going to make changes, I'm going to make promises, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I think that's a falsehood that I would be, thinking coming into it. It's not. It's a collaborative team. We work together. We rely on research and data. Mayor Walter mentioned on Monday that we were taking traffic information or traffic data at the wrong time. When snowbirds are gone, when school is out, I think one of my major accomplishments that would be to look at the research, look at the data, and make informed decisions collaboratively with the council, so that we can have decisions that we can, be firm and confident in moving forward. So I guess one of my major accomplishments would be to work collaboratively, to listen to my constituents, to intentionally listen to the constituents. You need to give them a voice. You're their voice. We're their voice if I'm appointed to town council. So we need to listen and make, again, informed decisions based on the data. Data drives decisions, and I hope that I would be known for that aspect.
Can you provide an example of a time when you successfully navigated a complex issue or a conflict in a collaborative setting?
I'm going to have to refer to the time when we went through COVID. There was a lot of controversy and a lot of various perspectives. As a PR person in the school district, it was my responsibility to inform the school community and the stakeholders about the COVID-19 pandemic, about what services were available, about the vaccines, and this was not well accepted within our school community. But together with our administrative team, we did what was right for the school community. We provided resources, despite the negative feedback from the community regarding whether your stance was, get the vaccination or not get the vaccination. But I think we did a very good job as to communicate responsibly to our stakeholders, to our students, to our families, and to overcome any of the negativity that was, given back from the community and from the parents.
That was certainly a time.
Yes, it was.
Now we've come to the conclusion of the 6 questions that we had.
Okay.
Is there anything that has not been covered that you'd like to share with us at this time?
I know somebody had mentioned to me about being on the school district and how this can add to the town council. And the school district can play a vital role in workforce solutions, and this is something that we didn't touch upon in the questions that you had asked. Our students, again, we're seeing growth. And on Monday, we talked about possible stores coming in and businesses coming in. Well, our students will play a major role in those workforce solutions. They're going to need a solid workforce to man these stores and these things that are coming in. So for me, being on town council, I would like to advocate for our students, for career readiness programs, for partnerships in local businesses. Again, we talk a lot about technical and vocational education, entrepreneurial support. These are all things that I think are important, and that as a employee of the school district and possibly a member of town council, that we can work collaboratively and benefit our community as a whole.
Thank you very much. So this concludes this portion of the interview, and at this time you can join the members of the audience. If you do go out, you just cannot go back to the room that you came from.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mayor, are we gonna have a break at any point? Otherwise, I have to go pee.
Good evening, sir. How are you today?
I'm fine, Mayor. How are you?
I am well. We just had one council member just take one break, so we're just waiting for her to come back so we can have the entire panel here.
Okay, all right.
All right, here she comes. So this evening, we are going to ask you 6 questions. Each of us will ask one question. And then at the conclusion of the questions, if there's anything that has not been covered that you would like to share with us, provide further information, you'll have an opportunity to do so.
Okay, all right.
All right, thank you so much. Councilmember Maldonado.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Wilkerson, please tell me something about yourself that isn't on your resume. And the second part of that question is, what makes you the best candidate for this position?
Well, let me first preface my response with, I am very, for lack of a better term, pleased with the fact that you have this many individuals from the community that wanted to serve on the council. I think that speaks very highly of the citizens that we have here in Florence. And so I'm just honored to be among them, to serve Florence. I do believe that community service is the highest service that one can render. And so again, I'm very pleased the fact that I'm among those, and some of them I know. Some of them I've worked with before. So I know the quality of the people that are wanting to serve on the panel. Something about me that's not on the resume. There's a plethora of stuff that's not on that resume that I could tell you about. I want to start by saying I am the son of Benny and Hattie Wilkerson. My parents, I had 8 siblings. My oldest brother served in Vietnam, 2 tours of duty. Service has been in our community, or been in our family for a long time. I've had 2 other brothers that served in Vietnam. I wanted to serve in Vietnam, but at that time, My mom was pretty much against my serving since I already had 3 brothers that were in Vietnam at the time. So I've always had this sense of service because our father instilled that into us. My father was in the banking industry, and he would have us up on Saturday mornings picking up trash in the community. At that time, as pretty much any young man would say, why, this is not even our trash, Dad, why are we picking up the trash? And he would say, because you live in this community and you have a responsibility for the community. So fast forward, about 3 years ago, my now oldest brother, who turned 80, received an award from the city because he got the city, his block together to do what? Pick up litter in the community. So about me, I've always had this desire to serve because it's not about me, and I've always felt that, and I've shared that with other individuals, and I've shared that with my wife. I've asked the question rhetorically, like, why do I always have this desire to serve? And so every position that I've held has been one of service. I started in 1977-78 working with juveniles back in the state of Michigan. Go Blue. And have been in that line of work serving since then, over 3+ decades in that line of work. I am very positive in some sense, and I'm one that will look for an opportunity to make a difference. And so that's just at my core. So again, I'm saying that service to me is something that I would wish that every citizen would engage in to the community, to make it better. Not just to complain, but to complain followed very closely by, and here's how I believe we can fix what I'm complaining about. So, what was your follow-up to that, your second?
I think you initially answered it. It was tell me something about yourself that's not on your resume, and then what makes you the best candidate. So I think you pretty much answered it.
Okay, well, I believe that you have several good candidates. I won't ever say that I am the best. I'll leave that for my wife. But as in terms of the best, I think that I would say over the course of my career, I don't like using the term best. I use better, because as long as you're serving in the capacity of anything, you can always become better, and you can always do better. The moment you start thinking that you're the best, I don't know.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
What do you think some of the challenges have been for Florence?
I'm pretty sure that everybody probably knows the challenges has been trying to get ahead of the growth. The infrastructure, the water. That comes with the fact that whenever you have a town that grows quickly as Florence has, the infrastructure is something that you're going to have to try and catch up with. So that's always, not always, but that is a challenge. Presently, that is a challenge. Being here in Arizona is a challenge in terms of water. You know, I come from Michigan. We had more water than you can imagine. We were surrounded by the Great Lakes. So here, the water is going to be a challenge, and so it's going to be an issue of managing our growth and the resource of water. So that's going to be a challenge. I also believe that it may not be that big of a challenge, lowercase c, to maintain, or let me digress here. I think it will be a challenge unless Florence says to themselves, we know that change is inevitable. We know that we're growing. We know that we're going to have several individuals moving, families moving from other cities and states here. but we want to maintain our Florence feel. We want to maintain the core of what we are as a community, and have all those individuals who come and move here join us and adopt that same kind of philosophy. So the challenge is how do you grow and how you bring in all of the different individuals that come and families that come, and yet maintain the sense of this is Florence. And this is Florence, and this is what people like about Florence. And when I moved here 13 some odd years ago, I was sharing it with somebody before, how I got here. I would come here from my office downtown Phoenix in the Capital District, and I would come and go straight to the court, meet with the juvenile judges, meet with the sheriffs and all those, and I would tell my administrator, now I'm out of here, I got to get back to civilization because there's nothing in Florence. And he would say, sir, but there's a restaurant. No, let me gas up, let me go. Fast forward, I met a young lady and she said to me, I live in Florence. And I said, Florence? Nobody lives in Florence. Nobody. So all these years later, not only did I meet her, but I married her, and now I'm living here in Florence and have been here for 13 and a half years. So in terms of challenge for me, that's, as I grew up in a small city in Michigan, and I watched my small city struggle with that as companies came in and businesses came in and General Motors came in, and at that time it was called Upjohn, now it's called Pfizer. They came in, and the town sort of lost that feeling of, yeah, this is a nice town. So, hope I answered your question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Arthur.
Yes, sir.
Very strong name. I like that name. I always have.
Outstanding name.
Very good. Very good
Sure.
name. Very good name.
Absolutely. I think it's somewhere in Leviticus or Deuteronomy.
Yes, it is.
All right.
And my daddy's name, too.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Do you feel the multi-generation facility should be a priority for the town? Please explain your answer. Please explain the reasoning behind your answer.
Anything that is multi-generational is a plus for the town, I believe. When you say multi-generational, of course, you're obviously speaking of all the different generations. So one of the things that small towns, medium-sized towns struggle with is how do we keep the youth that grow up in our town and go to school in our town, how do we keep them in our towns and to help contribute to our towns? And inevitably what happens is that sometimes you don't think about the youth and you don't think about the different generations that are there, and so you lose that. You lose them. They come, they live here, they get educated, they go off and go to college, and they never come back. So it should be baked into the cake, so to speak, the multi-generational thing. So if it's a multi-generational facility, I'm reminded of when I had one of my first administrative meetings, and I stood and looked around the room and thought, woo, I've got baby boomers, I've got Generation X, I've got greatest generation all here in this room. And I've got to communicate to all of them. And so it's like, how do I make them all feel a part of my team? So I've got to make all of them feel a part of my team. It's a multi-generational community that we have. So to meet the needs, you have to meet the needs of all of those that make up your community. So to me, it only makes sense to have multi-generational facilities within your city.
The town council has 3 council seats that are up for election. Why did you decide to apply for an appointed position rather than running for council in the upcoming election?
Well, that's to presuppose that I'm not planning on running. But I didn't know of it until I saw it, actually. And again, I am a community service guy. I have had several offers for positions since my retirement from the state of Arizona. None of those have been one whereby I could give service to the community. So I am long past the time when my teenage years when it was about me. And it's about community service again. So in terms of why apply for the appointment, I have been doing community service in a sense because I've been substitute teaching. I've been doing volunteer work with the Florence Police Department. So I've never not done community service stuff, but this gives me an opportunity. In my last position with the state of Arizona, and I was just sharing that with someone, what I miss the most is being on the front end of creating policy, creating statutes and things of that nature for the betterment of the state. There's only certain positions that will allow you to do that for the betterment of the citizens. And so once I saw that this vacancy was coming up, and I said, that's another way for me then to serve in that capacity.
If you are appointed to this position, at the end of your term, what will your number one accomplishment be?
If I am appointed, at the end of my term, my accomplishment would be if citizens better understand what it is the council does, the purpose of the council, the purpose of my being on the council. And if there's one individual who I have helped by virtue of whatever an issue is that he or she may have had, and I was able to help them solve that issue, then that would be, I feel, an accomplishment that I would have had in being on the council. Serving on the Arizona Supreme Court Council, one of the first things that we did was to try and educate the public in terms of what it is that the court's function was and how they are of service to the state. Accomplishments in my previous career, some were grandiose and some were very minute. So I view accomplishment in terms of whether or not I have successfully helped someone with their issues and with their concerns and made it a little bit better for them. So also, it's not an individual thing. The council is not an individual thing, although it's made up of individuals. It's the council. And I believe in collectively solving issues and not individually solving issues. I can assist someone else, but I think that, you know, what is it says, if you want to go fast, go by yourself, but if you want to go far, go together. And so I think it's a collective thing. So I will not be looking what have I accomplished, but if I in fact am honored to be on the council, I will be looking at what have we accomplished? What have we accomplished as a council? And not just, well, what have I accomplished?
Can you provide an example of a time when you successfully navigated a complex issue or a conflict in a collaborative setting?
What was that again, issue?
When you successfully navigated a complex issue or a conflict in a collaborative setting?
Complex issue. Budget is being cut. Substantially cut. And I've got to go before the state legislature. And I've got to explain to them why my budget can't be cut. And I'm being met with, it's across the board. Everyone, you included, Mr. Arthur Wilkerson. And I had just met with the judges and the sheriffs and some county officials in Flagstaff. And they were speaking of how they are really having some issues up here. So I navigated that by telling those representatives from the county that I hear what they're saying about the budget cuts, but it will mean that I will have to close several of my offices in your county because I will not be able to fund those positions up there. And your citizens are already complaining that they need not a cut, but more attention in that area. Now, here's what I can do. I can revisit some areas whereby I might be able to cut, such as I can probably get rid of some of my fleet and have individuals drive two to a vehicle as opposed to one. I can, it wasn't called Zoom at the time, but I can have them video conference to save time and to save gas. I can do those kinds of things and not so much affect what I'm responsible for and what my division is responsible for. Because at the end of the day, there are some legislative things that, legislatively that I have to do, I'm mandated to do. I cannot not do those. So at the end of the day, I was able to successfully have my budget only reduced slightly because of my commitment to offset it by doing other things and not have to lay off any of my staff at the time.
Very impressive. That is the last of our 6 questions, and at this time, you have an opportunity to share any other information or anything that you'd like us to know.
I'll end by saying, once again, thank you for allowing me to come before the council. And I will again reiterate the fact that I am impressed with the fact, and I've been to all over Arizona. Like I said, with my previous employment, I was responsible for staff in all 15 counties. And so I was able to travel to all counties. And there's great participation in some counties and there's zero in other counties. And to have Florence, to have individuals, 8, 9, 10, 11, that want to serve, I think first and foremost, that should be noted as no small thing. And I think that it is encouraging, and I think that it should be encouraged for people to do this. I heard someone speaking earlier before we got started, and they were saying about what the responsibility is of being on the council, and they went through this litany of things that you're going to be responsible for, and it's not this and that, and you're going to be spending time in doing that. And I remember thinking to myself, yeah, we used to call that Tuesday. but when you commit yourself to something, for me anyway, it is a given. I've committed myself to this. So I don't commit myself to something saying, and when will be my vacation days? And when will, so I think that, like I said once before, that the individuals that I know here, that are here and wanting to join the council, I have no doubt that they truly want to serve and will serve well. Regardless as to who the committee of the council selects, I think you'll get an individual that will serve you well. That's not to say I don't want to be selected, but that's simply to say that if I'm not, I'm encouraged that you will have someone join the council that will serve the town of Florence well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wilkerson. At this time, you could have a seat in the audience as well. You are our final interviewee for the evening. This decision is going to be made this evening, right here in public. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to everybody who has applied for this position. It is not an easy decision to choose to step forward to serve your community. There's a lot that goes into it. It's not just meetings. While I was on council, as well as in my role as mayor, I have received various phone calls ranging from barking dogs, trash not being picked up, trying to work through noise ordinances, improving services for the city, businesses wanting to come in. And we're always there to take those calls, to listen to the concerns, and direct them to the appropriate staff to help bring that issue forward. We have heard from 7 amazing candidates this evening, and I truly believe that all of you have something special to bring forward to serve on this council. We have members of boards and commissions. We have people who have served in this role prior. Individuals who have served at higher levels. This is not a decision that will be made lightly, but I also want to encourage everybody, if you're not selected this evening, please continue to engage, continue to serve on any boards and commissions, and when 2 years comes around, because the next election cycle will be in 2 years, I encourage you to come forward. I believe that it's progress when you have new citizens that want to be involved in the community and serve, bring ideas forward, because each and every one of us up here represents all of the citizens, but all of the citizens don't necessarily come to us. Some may come to Councilmember Maldonado. He has a tie with, a service background. Or Councilmember Larson, she has a tie with families and youth activities. Or Councilmember Neal, he has a tie with correctional as well as with the school district. And I could go on and on. It's just, you understand that point. All right, anyway, with that, I wanted to just first and foremost express sincere thanks for everybody who is here this evening. And I also want to recognize that Councilmember Maldonado and Councilmember Buccellato, whoever is selected this evening, we, as in Councilmember Larson, myself, Councilmember Mendoza, and Councilmember Neal, our term is up December 2024. So I do want to give an opportunity for you guys to lead if you'd like, because ultimately you'll be working with the individual in a longer term capacity. Would either of you like to say anything at this time? Okay.
I would like to see if I could take a minute, because this is very close. This was not easy. You guys showed up and showed out tonight, and I'm very excited for that. But I have a tie, and
Why don't we take about 5 minutes to review our books?
can I have a few minutes to review?
Absolutely. We're still here, but we're going to review our books for a moment.
Do we have a legal reason to go? Okay.
It's the perfect example of you don't even know what you don't know until.
Procedurally, do you want to tell us how this will work?
Yeah, okay, so I had a question just from a council member who said, okay, what do we do now? So as many of you know, this is the first time that we have experienced this as our council. I'm sure it's not the first time in the history of Florence, but as our council, this is the first. So procedurally, what we would do next is, at this time, we can open it up for discussion, and any member of council can make a motion, and I'll call on, not make a motion, but like, you know, cue your hand up or make eye contact. I'll call on you to speak. Anybody who wants to talk. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm ready.
We can't take a break. We all have to stay here, but if you need a break, we can give you a break. Okay, you can take a break. We will not do anything without you, I promise. Procedurally, after there's discussion, A council member would make a motion on who they want to put forward to appoint. If there is a second at that time, we take a vote on that.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
When we make a motion, can we explain why, or do we just make the motion at that time?
You can explain why, absolutely.
Okay. At this time, I make a motion.
Hang on, can I wait for discussion?
Oh, yeah, do you want to just
Yeah,
go?
I wanted to open
Go
it
ahead.
up in case anybody
No,
wanted.
open it up, because open it up.
All right, Snake's taking a moment.
Is he taking a moment? Okay.
It's okay, Chris is up there, he's waiting.
I was just that Snake already left, and I was like, oh, hold on, don't make a motion until he comes back.
I know Councilmember Maldonado said, we're just as nervous as you are out there. And we are, because whoever is selected this evening is going to be serving 2.5 years up here and making decisions. And only 2 of us will be up here to continue supporting you. So this is a very big decision.
Which means we get to be down there. Just saying. Then we can say things, a lot of things.
I could also take a point of privilege and hear from the public. No?
I thought you worked at the restaurant to just, give yourself something. To talk to people? Yeah, to talk to people and like let your mind relax. It's less of an emotional labor thing.
It's a social thing. And I like some people, they're sweet, like the guests.
Okay, Lisa, we've got a hot mic, just so you know. I don't know whose words they are, but one of them is hot mic'd and coming up on the screen. So just letting you know.
Is that mic on down there?
Somebody's talking and it's showing up on words on the screen, and yet. So
It
just
is
letting you know.
coming from the call to the public mic that cannot be.
We can't turn it off. Okay.
All right, so now we are back. Any discussion is open at this point. Councilmember Maldonado.
I just want to say this was for me, it was very close race. And I just want to echo the words of the mayor. I look forward to whoever we pick to be somebody that we can work with as a team to make Florence a better place. And I'm really excited and I'm really nervous at the same time. But thank you from the bottom of my heart for all those that put their packages in and that are out here taking time out of their busy schedules, because I know there's folks out here that are real busy and doing a lot of stuff. And thank you for all the stuff you do, and thank you to our next town council member.
All right, if nobody else has any discussion, at this point, I will open it up. Do you have discussion? Just wanted to make sure I wasn't reading body language incorrectly. Then it's open up for a motion.
So I make a motion to appoint Kathy Adam to the Florence Town Council.
I'll second. Oh, did you want to say an explanation?
Can I?
Yeah, absolutely.
My explanation is Miss Adam has been very involved in our community in more ways than one. She attends multiple meetings, multiple boards, HDAC, museum, chamber. She is currently up to date with what is going on. She provides input, email, she questions us on things, and that is something that matters because we should be questioned. We should be told of solutions, not just problems. And in the 18 months that I've served up here, when that name comes through on an email, I know that there may be a problem, but underneath that, I know that there's going to be options or ideas to look into or to discuss. And I think as hard as this decision was tonight, because we had so many great applicants, that is something that our town needs, and that is what I respect. And I mean, we have amazing applicants, but that is a name that I have seen nonstop since I've been up here, wholeheartedly involved in our community, and that is something that I appreciate. So at this time, I would like to make a motion for Kathy Adam to fill this seat on the Florence Town Council.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And all opposed? And motion carries. Congratulations, Miss Adam. Would you like to come up and say a few words?
I can't thank the council enough, but if it's all right, I'd like to say something. I am so impressed with all the applicants, and I was sitting there, and I honestly, I had spoken with a few of you before, so I already knew we had candidates going in. I wish to gosh you all applied for the 4-year term, and I hope that you do apply when this comes up again. I am just so impressed, so thank you all for applying. I am elated to know you exist in this town, so thank you. I want to thank the whole council, Councilmember Buccellato, Councilmember Larson for seconding, and the council for voting for me. I put a tremendous amount of thought into this. And while it wasn't my burning desire at the time for the 4-year term, once I turned in my package, I made the commitment that I will give this 110%. I've received a lot of encouraging nods, but I will tell you, I am welcoming those who don't know me or those who may disagree to please reach out. We all can only serve as best we can with what we know. And if I don't know your side, and if I don't know you, you're not on my radar. So I'm opening the door to any and all comments, constructive, right? As Councilmember Buccellato said, my motto is if you're going to come forward with an issue, have some idea of what would make it better. I'm not a complaint bureau, right? And neither is the council. So I do appreciate everybody's constructive comments, and I am out of words. I'm absolutely honored, and I look forward to picking all your brains and helping me do the best job I can. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we have call to the council. Councilmember Neal?
He's way better looking, apparently. But congratulations, Kathy. I would like to say, to be honest, I had it all. I had 5 people within 2 points, and in a 3-way tie. So honestly, I really love to appreciate all of y'all for showing up and speaking out for the town that I love so much. I would like to say, Kathy, I've never been kidnapped before. Kathy Adams is the first person to successfully kidnap me. A pretty big guy, and she kidnapped me, and she drove me around Florence in a little space-age car that I couldn't get in or out of without her help. And I remember speaking about her in a council meeting, her passion for a town. I was born here. I was born and raised here. I will die here. And I love this town. I love this place with everything I got. And I will say it again, this lady has just as much passion for this town as I do. I truly believe that the other candidates tonight, you are not lifelong Gophers. I won't hold it against you too much, but I honestly would love to see some of y'all run for these council positions. I've talked till I was blue in the face about lifelong Gophers running for these council positions. Guess a couple people just didn't listen to me, so somebody's gonna have to step up to the plate, and I really thank y'all for showing up and honestly loving my town. Thank you.
Councilmember Buccellato.
I was hoping you would go in that order because I already had my mic on. I'm going to keep it short and sweet because it's already getting late, but I ditto all that. I have lived here my entire life also, and this is just proof that you don't have to live here your whole entire life to have as much passion for the community as people that have. And I will say that the process isn't done. You can still become a write-in, right? There's still time for that. So I would encourage, if you still feel that passion, what's another 1.5 years? Go for it. Write yourself in, turn in the paperwork to Lisa. You can go to her. We just had one turned in yesterday or the day before. So it's definitely happening, and it's definitely an option. And I would be happy to see any of your guys' names on there as write-in. So with that being said, congratulations again, Kathy, and you guys really made it hard tonight.
Councilmember Maldonado.
So first of all, Miss Kathy, congratulations. I don't know if I've shared this with the town, or a lot of the constituents, but one of the reasons I'm up here is because Miss Kathy approached me many years ago, and I told her at the time, Miss Kathy, I'm not ready. You know, it's a conflict of interest for me right now, but get a hold of me later. And she did, and I'm up here now. And I appreciate that spark that she gave me to want to serve not just veterans, but serve the whole community. And I'm glad I could reciprocate that. Not that you needed it, but your actions speak for themselves. You're so active in the community, on so many boards. You're very knowledgeable. You are a plethora of knowledge, and I hope I can learn from you just as much as I hope you can learn whatever little I can share with you. Thank you.
Councilmember Larson.
First of all, congratulations. So I first want to say that in 8 years that I've sat up here, I know that there is certain key members in our community that bring solutions and not just bring problems. And I appreciate everyone's concerns or comments and everything, but the people who bring the solutions or have the discussion are the ones that left me with a lasting impact. And there was nothing that said that I came into this thinking that for sure I had my decision made. But I did know that my experience with you had shown that you not only brought the solutions, but that you were open to maybe not, both of us not knowing the answer, to exploring what that answer might be and working together. We've had many discussions in the past and worked together, and I've always appreciated that about you, is that there was times where we just didn't know, and we had to lean in on other resources or reach out to other people, individuals, and get more information, and I always appreciated that. We had a lot of great candidates tonight. If I'm being honest, I had a tie, but there was the fact that I know that we had that background really helped break that tie for me, and your consistency in the community. So I appreciate everything that you've done. I think you're going to do fantastic things here up on council, and for everybody else, I really, really do hope that you guys would run for a council position. I think that it does find value not only in having the citizens elect somebody into this position long term, but also from the candidate's perspective, you learn a lot about what your community wants and needs when you have to stand up there and present it to everybody as their idea, and this is what you've heard. Because you learn so much through that process that there's value there. So anybody who thinks that they want to serve on town council, I encourage you to apply and encourage you to go through a campaign. So not only to refine the candidate, but also to hear from your constituents. So with that, I'm thankful for all of our individuals who applied, so thank you, everyone.
Vice Mayor?
Very, very difficult decision because there was a lot of good candidates, and congratulations, Ms. Adams. Like everyone else has said, there's still opportunities out there if you want to be on the council. I encourage you to, if you don't do it this year, you've got 2 years to prepare for the next election. If you don't want to go that route, then we have a bunch of boards that you guys can join. There's a lot of different things that you can do in this town. But I appreciate that you guys came out, and I know how difficult it is to sit behind the mic and answer questions. But thank you guys for coming.
You all did amazing this evening, and I am very genuine with that. I am most excited that I get my vote back. I'm not sure if many have realized, but when there's only 6 of us here, I have to always potentially be the tiebreaker. So I'm glad that we have a 7th member, so now I can have my vocal voice back if it's needed, and it will be needed. Kathy, congratulations. I look forward to serving with you over the next 6 months, and then you'll continue on when I'm no longer here, and I know that you will represent all of Florence well. As Councilmember Buccellato mentioned, there is a process for anybody who wants to jump in right now for write-in candidates, and Ms. Garcia can always share that information out as well. I want to say thank you for everybody who came forward today. Again, it wasn't easy. It was a long process, and it was very public. We did not know the outcome of this evening until just now. That's why I was how do I say this? That's why I was very specific to say, listen, we're not all going to the bathroom at once. Only one of you are going at a time, because the teacher and me came out to make sure that we were not talking. So that was strategic. Congratulations. And at this time, I hope you're ready to jump right in. I know you are. We need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.